Hello and welcome to the third edition of Non-League on Sunday, where we bring you all the latest news, league tables and results from the weekend's non-league games. Mostly covering the south, but we've also got a bit of the north as well. So joining me from the last week show is we've got Paul and Luke. So welcome back. Welcome back. So we've got quite a bit to talk about. We've also got the FA Cup to talk about as well later on before we get into the league stuff. But first of all, we're going to go into the news, as we always like to do. And the first one, I think, I don't know if it was a surprise or not, but Seb Bowman's left Bracknell and gone to Dorking. Paul, obviously, I think it's a well-deserved move, isn't it? I think it's fair to say, and he's a great addition for Dorking.
Yeah, absolutely. Brilliant player. Went with everybody's best wishes as well. Everybody's absolutely made up for him. Deserved his chance. So, yeah, hopefully he'll go and smash it. I think Dorking came in for him 2 years ago. They tried to sign him then, but he was persuaded to stay and try and see the club up from step 4 to step 3, which obviously duly did. He had an amazing season last year. Won about 5 awards at the end of season 2 for Bracknell Town. Won step 3, step 4 player of the year. Won Berkshire County player of the year. So, yeah, had an amazing season last year and fully deserves his move.
Yeah, and obviously I don't want to spoil it too much for later on, but he did score yesterday for Dorking as well, which I think was his debut. So, yeah, definitely he's going to be a big signing for Dorking. They're doing quite well this season, Dorking. I think that's a great addition, even though that he comes from 2 steps below at the moment. I think it will be a big signing for them. Another bit of big news, actually, which I was quite surprised by, is Chertsey and Wayne Carter have parted company. Obviously, the photo's a bit old. He's in his Hamwell shirt there. But, yeah, he was part of the joint management team that got promoted last season with Hamwell at Chertsey, ironically. And it just didn't start well for them. I mean, to be fair, Chertsey had a better start than what I predicted. But, I mean, is this too soon, do we think? Or do you think he should have had a bit longer?
I think personally should have had a bit longer, 8 games. I think you could probably argue that they haven't started the season very well. That division's wide open. Just looking at the league table now, they're in 4th position, right? But
it's not bad. No, I know they won yesterday. But the thing is, obviously, Basingstoke, we battered them 3-0, and they were terrible against us. I'm not going to lie, but I still think it was too soon. No matter, even if we won 6-0, it's still too soon. I think for Wayne Carter to leave Chertsey. I think they've got plenty of time. I think it's like you said, they're 4th or 5th position. I don't see why they sacked him so soon in the season. I think they still had potential to even get promoted.
Yeah, like you said, it's just too early for me. I think really it should have been given a bit more time. I think what I've noticed this season is there's been a lot of changes already, really early doors. I mean, generally you see sort of more changes around sort of mid-October, early November. But like player movements as well as manager movements has been a lot more. I don't know whether or not that's because, the first season back after post-COVID. Obviously, we had a good season last year. What I mean is that, continuation of that. I know a lot of clubs started a little bit earlier than normal, sort of mid-June or early June. And whether or not that's something to do with it, I don't know.
Yeah, I'll wait and see on that one. But lastly, the other bit of news as well is regarding National League Southside St Albans. Ian Allinson, long-serving manager at the club, after 6 long years, has resigned by mutual consent. I think he will remain at the club as a different role. But obviously, it's he's been there a long time. Not many managers stay at their clubs for many years now, so he's gone as well. But we're going to kick things off, obviously, with our sort of league results from the National League, the big step 1, and so there's a big score on this one, wasn't there? So there's Aldershot Town 1, Wealdstone 2. Wealdstone still having a cracking start to the season, to be fair to them. Barnet 0, York City 5, Chesterfield 1, Maidenhead United 2, Dorking Wanderers 5, Dagenham Redbridge 1. So of course, Seb Bowman scored 1 of those goals in his debut, and McShane with another 2 goals as well. So he's on fire, that man, McShane. Halifax Town 0, Woking 4, Gateshead 1, Eastleigh 1. Oh, Luke, what's your thoughts on that result there?
Eastleigh were a good side. I thought they were doing all right, but they really wanted to slow the game down and all that. So it was kind of frustrating for us. and the fans really. It was getting to like the referees and all that, and the referees were kind of getting frustrated. I think the linesman he went down injured, and that obviously took a bit of time. And the fans were probably getting frustrated in Eastleigh. But the stroke, I think it was Charlie Carter who scored, and then he obviously was a lovely goal. It was a lovely goal. Bear in mind, lovely little set play, and he just, I think it was the right hand side. He scored that, and then in the second half we did better. Before we were counter attacking more. Eastleigh weren't really counter attacking that much, like on like the what's it called, the strike on the attack. So but we did get the job done. We did get to take a point from that. It was a lovely little goal from Dan Jarvis, former Wrexham player, and it was a proper nice goal. I watched the highlights not too long ago, and that was a proper nice goal. It was probably like curled into like the little net right there. What was it called? Can't get my words out today. But yeah, it was a good game. I think it was deserved a point, really, because I think it was Eastleigh mainly frustrating Gateshead and all that. So yeah.
Similar points in the table, Luke. Eastleigh 15 points, Gateshead on 11. What was the crowd like? I think Eastleigh like down near Portsmouth area. Did they bring many fans up, you know?
It was a 600-mile round trip, I know that, but I think from looking at it, I didn't get the exact attendance on the away fans, but I think it was, if it was just calculated, I think it was like 30 or 40 fans, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure about that, but it was fair play to them Eastleigh fans. I thought they were very dedicated to their team, going from 600 miles back and forth. That was pretty. So we give them a great clap after the we gave them like a great clap reception. We made them feel welcome and all that. So yeah.
Yeah, and again carrying on. Notts County 3, Altrincham 1, Oldham Athletic 1, Wrexham 2. So Wrexham, of course, going to be still top of the league table. Solihull Moors 2, Bromley 2, Southend 1, Yeovil 0, and another long trip as well. Torquay United 1, Scunthorpe 1. Another long journey there. I mean, that's about a 5-hour drive, I think, there. But then what does that do for league table? Of course, like I said, Wrexham remain top. In the playoffs, you've got Notts County, Chesterfield, Bournemouth, Bromley, Solihull, Woking. Right at the foot, we've got Scunthorpe, who have done a little bit better now. They're getting a few more points on the board. Torquay United are down the bottom there in 22nd. Altrincham and Halifax Town. So what are your opinions, both of you? What are your opinions so far on this league table early doors? I mean, look at Torquay. I mean, they could have got promoted, I think, a couple of years ago back to League Two, but they're struggling, aren't they? Early doors.
I thought Dorking are doing that extraordinary. I think they're really like settling into this league, even though they've had a very remarkable rise, and I think it's incredible for Dorking for 10th and all that. So yeah,
I mean, yeah, they're only 3 points away from the playoffs, so they could do the unthinkable here.
Could go in the Football League. It's that incredible of a rise. It'll probably be like what a bunch of amateurs are doing right now. It could just be amazing if they went to the Football League and all that.
It's like one of those sort of FIFA sort of FIFA YouTube road to. It's amazing what's going on there. I mean, looking at Wrexham, not surprised they're at the top. Notts County, I don't know how they got relegated out of the Football League.
Yeah, they have a really good striker in Macaulay Langstaff, scoring 14 goals in a couple of seasons, and obviously he's a former Gateshead player and all that, so it really hurts.
Yeah, and Woking is another team I'd like to see one day in the Football League. I know they've been up and down in the National League South and National League for quite a few years now. I'd like to see them in it. Take a look at the rest of the league. Oldham obviously struggling a little bit. And like I said already, Torquay and Scunthorpe surprisingly are struggling. Halifax are right at the foot of the table on 8 points, but it's quite close down there. A lot of teams on 8 points.
Scunthorpe are really getting their act back together. They're really getting their act back together. They're like not messing around this time. They're just like
Obviously, we weren't live last week, but of course they they beat Dorking, didn't they, from 2-0 down last weekend? So that was a good comeback from them.
Yeah, I think Mark White said it's 3 points drop, didn't he? I think he said that, they probably could have won 3 or 4-0 if they hadn't managed to hang on. probably, I think as well, he said that he'd made some changes and probably in hindsight made them a little bit too early. As well, I think he was saying on the pre-match interview yesterday, or could have been the interview midweek actually, looking up to the game coming this weekend, that he was saying it feels like sometimes they sort of get ahead and they're still trying to sort of feel the league out, and it's a little bit sort of starstruck guys, and blimey, we're ahead in this game. We're in the national.
And of course, if they did beat Scunthorpe last week, and they could have been in the playoff spots right now, so they'd been in heaven right now if that had happened. But we're going to quickly move on to National League North and South. Obviously, I'm not going to bother showing league tables because there's only literally 3 games.
There was only like 2 games. One was like Leamington, Telford, Southport, and
so I've got them on here. So we got National League North. We got Leamington 2, AFC Telford 2, Southport 4, Bradford PA 1.
They're not doing very well. Bradford, they're not. Something's wrong at their club. They're obviously,
I noticed they're struggling.
They lost against Ashington in the FA Cup, which is probably one of the upsets of like the cup so far. So they're not really. I don't know if they're. I think they're struggling. Of course, they've signed former Bradford City defender and young prospects at their club, Rhys Staunton, for undisclosed fee. So I don't think it's like working for some reason. It just doesn't seem like anything's working at Bradford Park Avenue at the moment. But I like to say, but it's still early doors. You don't know what. Still early doors right now. So
yeah, it's only October. And talking of early doors, it's not been a good start, is it, for Hungerford? I went there on Tuesday. They struggled against Hampton Richmond. They lost 2-0 at Dartford. I feel sorry for them because they used to, they don't have much of a fan base. They're trying their best, I think, behind the scenes, but maybe this is a time they get relegated. I'd rather they didn't, because I like to see my more local side stay up in their divisions, but they are struggling. They've got Connor Lynch from Bracknell, but they've not scored in 2 games. They need to start scoring soon to get those points. But I'd see what, Luke, do you want to go to the Northern Premier League? What I'd do is, there's the results for you there. Look, do you want to run through the Northern Premier League for us?
Arthurton, so we've got Arthurton Collieries 2 and Ashington 0. We've got FC United of Manchester 1, Marine 1, and then we've got Guiseley 1, Warrington Rhinelands 1. Oh, excuse me. And we've got Lancaster City 1, Belper Town 1, Madlock 1. It's a lot of 1-1s, you can tell.
Yeah, I can see that.
And then we'll have Madlock 1. Madlock, what? 4 was something else there. Madlock 1, Nangwish Town 1, Stafford Rangers 2, Liversedge 0. Liversedge obviously came up from the East Division. They're not doing pretty well. And we've got Steelbridge Celtic 0, Warburton Town 3, Wilmington Town 1, Radcliffe 0. And just going back to the Stafford Rangers, they're doing extraordinary. Just put the table up, I don't mind.
There you go on, yeah. Here you go.
Stafford Rangers are currently top of the league. They're doing extremely well with knocking South Shields off the top. Then we've got Madlock, obviously get from last season. They were in the playoffs, obviously lost to Scarborough, and they are doing very well, keeping that momentum going to next season. Love to see. They've got still 3rd place. We've got Hyde United, who are on 3rd place, who obviously beat Darlington in the FA Cup 1-0 for Jack Redshaw winner. And we've got Morpeth Town, South Shields rivals, in 5th. They're doing quite well. And we've got Warrington Rhinelands in 6th. Obviously, they won the West Division of the Northern Premier League. They're doing really well, almost outside the playoffs, in fact. Then we've got Radcliffe in 7th. We've got FC United of Manchester in 8th. We've got Marsk in 9th. They're doing pretty well with obviously going up from the East Division via the playoffs. And then we've got Ashington United, who are 10th. Bamber Bridge, who obviously got knocked out of the FA Cup by Buxton, 3-0. We've got Warrington Town, who are 12th. And then we've got Arthurton Collieries, who are 13th and already relegated from last season. Guiseley, who are 14th. Obviously not doing pretty well. I wouldn't 14th is not really a good place to go from a relegation side. You would like to bounce back from all that. But we've got Grangesby Trinity, who are in 15th, and we've got Marine, who are 16th, came up via the West Division playoffs, beating Runcorn Linnets. And then we've got Stalybridge Celtic, who are 17th, Nantwich are 18th, and then Lancaster City 19th. And we've got two of the newly promoted sides who are in the bottom two. So we have Belpertown and Liversedge. Obviously, Belpertown won the Midlands playoffs, while Liversedge won the East Division and all that. And then we've got Whitby Town, who are at the rock bottom with 5 points and 6 losses. And yeah, so that rounds up all the
I wanted to touch on FC United of Manchester, because they used to, obviously they're a protest club from Manchester United. I think they got relegated, didn't they? Did they get relegated a few years ago?
They got relegated from the 2018-19 season. They were in the National League North, and then they got relegated. I mean,
what's happening? Have they got ambitions to reach the Football League one day? I mean, I don't know how far they want to go, because I know they done quite well in the pyramid, didn't they? Then they sort of struggled.
Yeah.
Recently,
They went up. Had a really great season in the 2014-15 season when they won the Northern Premier League, and they kept on staying in the National League North for about 4 or 5 seasons, and then suddenly they just went down from 2018-19, and they just dropped down to the Northern Premier League, and they've just stayed there ever since. I don't know. I think it's just building my momentum up to go in the National League or something like that. It's pretty confusing and all that. So it's
because I was expecting them to sort of be in National League by now. I don't know why, but I was expecting them the new stadium and all that, and the way they was going through these leagues. I thought they'd have been up there by now, but obviously not. It's just sticking at it in this league at the moment, it seems. But let's move on to the Isthmian League Premier Division. I've not got the results on the screen for some of these leagues now, just the league tables. But yesterday in the Isthmian Premier League, we had Aveley 3, Margate 1, Bishop Stortford 0, Wingate and Finchley 0, Barrows and Pitsea 0, Horsham 0, Canvey Island 3, and Bognor Regis Town 2. And for the league table, as you can see now, Aveley remain top. They got promoted from the I think it was Isthmian North League last term, and they're top of the league again, 1 point clear ahead of Hornchurch the second. You've got Enfield, Potters Bar, and Bishop Stortford making up the playoffs. And then right at the foot of the table, we've got Brighton and Sea Regent, Wingate and Finchley, Corinthian Casuals, and Herne Bay. Billericay sort of mid-table there. They've had quite a poor time in the last few years. I know they've had a lot going on there. But any thoughts on this sort of league table so far for the Isthmian Premier?
Excellent. I'm just going to say this: Aveley are doing excellent. Coming up from the North, what's it called? Isthmian North.
Isthmian North, yeah.
Yeah, I have to make sure they're doing extraordinary. I think they've got a great setup. I know that, and they've just done that. It's just carry on from last season.
Canvey as well, actually doing well, because they got promoted from the Isthmian. Did they get promoted? Yeah, they got promoted from the Isthmian North as well. Now up in 7th, so doing quite well.
Billericay, I knew they had lots of money in the past with Glenn Tamplin and all that.
I mean, Billericay, this was the team that had Jamie O'Hara. I think they had Paul Konchesky as well. They had quite a few big names for them.
Yeah, well, that was a time when Glenn Tamplin was young, wasn't it? So and it kind of went downhill after that. He left him, went on to Romford, didn't he? I think, and then left Romford. I don't think he's back in football yet, is he? I don't think so.
I don't think I've not heard anything about him. But another league we go on to as well is the
just on that one, Matt. I think the standout for me was Bishop Stortford, Wingate. Bit of a disappointing result for Bishop Stortford, I think, considering they're on 18 points and 5th, and Wingate are only on 6th and down in 20th. Home, home, you'd expect them to have won that game. And obviously, Canvey Island for me. Bratton got Canvey Island away next week in the FA Trophy, so that was a result I was keeping an eye on.
And there'll be quite an atmosphere as well, because Canvey Island, I believe they've got quite a few noisy fans. So I think you might have a headache after that one.
Yeah. They've got a really massive stand, I've heard, isn't it? They've got a really massive stand, a really massive standing stand and all that.
Yeah, I think so. I can't remember much memory from what I've seen in videos, but I think they've got quite a big ground by the looks of it. But moving on to the Southern League Premier South, yesterday's results. We've got Beaconsfield 0, Paul Town 0, Chesham 3, Tiverton 0, Dorchester 3, Harrowborough 2, Gosport 2, Northley 0, Hartley Whitney 0, Churray City 1. So Hartley still struggling. And then, of course, if we put up the league table, as you can see, well, temporarily at least, Western-super-Mare have been pushed down to second position, but that's only because of their FA Cup game at the weekend. Let's have a look. So we got Churray City obviously at the top with... Actually, just remind me, we haven't gone through the FA Cup results yet, have we?
Oh, no.
No, we haven't. We'll do that in a minute. I totally forgot about that. But anyway, carrying on. Churray City, remain suddenly top of the table by a point. But of course, like I said, Western-super-Mare with that game in hand. Chesham in third. Hanwell, look at them. They're in fourth now. They're doing really well. Considering they got promoted from the Isthmian South Central last season. Paul Town in fifth position. Right at the bottom, we've got Northley, Hendon, Plymouth, and Yate Town. But Hartley Whitney lost it. They're sort of flirting with relegation at the moment. So Winchester City, but I know they've got, from what I understand, they've got the smallest budget in this league, and they would have one of the smallest budgets even the league below. So I think they're doing quite well, Winchester, if they do start this season. Hayes and Yedden, I think, very underwhelming. I think they were favourites to win the league, but they're down in 14th position. Bracknell down to 13th, but obviously, a lot's been going on there. Lost Seb Berman and the manager, but hopefully, I think things will turn around for you, won't it, Paul, at Bracknell?
I think what you'll see, we've got about 3 or 4 really good, tough games coming up. So we've got Truro away, we've got, I think, Poole away, we've got Hayes and Yedden at home. So obviously Truro and Poole for first and fifth.
Truro unbeaten as well by the looks of it. So that's going to be extremely tough.
The thing is with them as well is I think they've only conceded 6 goals and they haven't conceded more than 1 goal in the game yet. So they're on good form. So I'll actually expect Bracknell. I think as well. Obviously we've got a bit of a cup run going, right? Because we won in the FA Cup yesterday. We've got the FA Trophy this weekend coming up. So I could actually see us dropping down a little bit more because we'll have a lot of games in hand, and especially with the games that we've got coming up. And, we'll have to see where we're at sort of probably mid-November, towards the end of November into December, and see where we're at there. Hartley Whitney, obviously they lost to Truro. They lost their striker in the week, Aaron McLeish-White.
He's gone, isn't he? I forgot about that, actually. Yeah, he obviously played for Bracknell last season. He went left and went there, and he's gone again. So
we don't know where he's gone, but I think as Bracknell fans, we all really liked Aaron. Actually, he got the name Andy Crock, right? I'll just tell you a quick story about him. One of our fans thought he was called Andy, so he just kept shouting Andy for the first game away at Chipstead. So he got the nickname Andy, even though he's called Aaron. And he was Crocs, so we call him Andy Crock for that. So I think we're kind of hopeful that he's going to come back to us. I don't know where he's going to go. We haven't heard anything. But then they brought in is it Imran Kayani, I think, from Slough Town. Young, I think he's only about 19, one of their strikers. Because I think Slough as well, they brought back in Dan Roberts, haven't they, from Dartford. So there's a bit of movement from the strikers at that point. I was keeping an eye on the Harrowborough score because they've been picking some form up. It was a shame that they didn't manage to hold on against Dorchester yesterday.
Yeah, and let's move on. I'll tell you what we're going to do. So we're going to go through quickly. We're going to go through the Isthmian South Central, the Southern League Division 1 South. Then we'll go to the FA Cup results, and then we'll go to Luke when you get for your sort of your step 4 Northern Leagues possibly. But yeah, so Isthmian South Central yesterday. We had quite a few fixtures. We had Ashford Town 2, Northwood 1. Northwood lost back-to-back games now, so that momentum's dropping big time for them. Chertsey Town 4, Guernsey 0. Chertsey get their first win under, of course, since the sacking of Wayne Carter. Chipstead 2, Uxbridge 1. The game I went to yesterday, Leatherhead 0, Basingstoke 0. What I'll say about that, the vlog will be edited today. It was what I call an entertaining 0-0. There was a lot of opportunities for both sides. There was even a goal line clearance from the hosts. It was a very good game. There was a lot of big tackles going in, but you'll see that on the vlog hopefully tonight or tomorrow. Mercham 0, Marlow 0. Sutton Common Rovers 1, Southall 1. A big thrashing here. Look, Fatcham Town 5, Bedfont Sports 1. Bedfont seem to be struggling so far this season. They had a good season last year, but not so far this season. Tooting and Mitcham United 1, South Park 1. And what does that do for the Isthmian South Central League table? Well, luckily for Northwood, they still remain top of the table, even though Marlow have a game in hand. 4 points clear at the top. Marlow, Binfield, Chertsey, Walton merged in the playoffs. Like you said, Paul, Chertsey, I'm still gobsmacked they sacked Wayne Carter so early on. In fourth position, that is a shock there. But Morton Hersham as well, they're one of the favourites to go up, so they're doing well. Basingstoke dropped down to 6th position, 1 point behind out of the playoff spots. I think we can be happy that we are improving. We've kept, I think it's 3 clean sheets in a row now. And to me, that's the main thing. We're not chipping in goals that we did at the start of the season. Southall doing well. Got promoted last season up in 7th. Let's have a look further down the table. Tooting and Mitcham United, sort of same position they were last year in 15th. Leatherhead still flirting with relegation in 16th. I'm sure they'll take that point yesterday, considering that they've not. I think they have not lost in 3 games now, so that their sort of form is getting better as time goes on. Bedfont and Thatcham make up the relegation playoff spots. Surprising, I wasn't expecting those two to be down there. And Guernsey and Mercham at the foot of the table, respectively. But very interesting league table so far, I think, for Isthmian South Central.
I thought, to be honest, I was a bit disappointed for you guys yesterday. I thought you'd actually go around and turn them over because your away form's normally really good. So yeah, I was quite surprised at that. But like you said, Leatherhead now 3 games unbeaten, so they're definitely picking some form up. Thatcham's goal was quite a surprising one, but I think I'd seen on one of the WhatsApp groups that Thatcham had a young striker on loan from Reading, and apparently he was outstanding. So I don't know how many goals he got, but they seem to think that he was one of the major reasons why they won that game 5-1 yesterday.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting season ahead for some of these bottom teams that are struggling at the moment. But
I remember when Thatcham Town played in the FA Vase against Stockton. That was quite extraordinary for them.
Yeah, they won, didn't they? How many years ago was that now?
That was a final, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was the FA Vase final. I remember it from the top of my head.
Yeah, that was a year. That was a year Bracknell lost against Mask, I think, in the quarter final. I might be wrong on that, but that was a season as well that Thatcham. I think that was a season Thatcham won the league, and they won it on goal difference from Bracknell. Bracknell needed to win 10-0 on the last game of the season. They won 8-0. I can't remember who it was against. I think it was like Fairfield or something like that. But as well, that I remember that game because Bracknell had hit the bar in the closing stages as well. And I mean, they could have really, apart from the goalkeeper, they probably should have had about 15 goals that season in that game. So, yeah. Anyway, congratulations to that.
Yeah, definitely. And moving on to the Southern League South Division 1. The results: Cinderford Town 3, Westbury United 2, Evesham United 2, Lymington Town 1. Lymington, I think, have still yet to register a single point this season, so they're really struggling. Frome Town 2, Hamworthy 0, Larkhall Athletic 1, Bideford 1, Melksham 3, Wimborne 1, Sholing 3, Bristol Manor Farm 2, Slimbridge 0, Exmouth 4, Tavistock 4, Bishops Cleeves 1, Willand Rovers 1 and Bashley 1. And finally, of course, what does that do for the league table? Sholing have won all 7 of their games so far this season. They're up there with all 21 points, 5 points clear ahead of Exmouth Town, Melksham, Evesham and Frome in the playoff spots. And right at the bottom, Lymington, like I said, yet to pick up a point. They're really struggling. Like I said before, they even lost 6-0 against Basingstoke in the FA Cup. Larkhall Athletic as well are yet to pick up a win so far this season, down in 19th. Bristol Manor Farm in 18th. Struggling, they were in the playoff final last year against Winchester City, but they're still struggling down in 18th. Bideford in 17th. So yeah, that's there's a few interesting league positions there. And I think what we'll do now is I think we'll quickly go through the FA Cup results before we forget about them. The first one, I'll go to you, Paul, first of all. Yate 0, Bracknell 3. Was you there yesterday? I know it's quite a good victory there.
It was, yeah. No, I couldn't make it. By all accounts, I think they had somebody sent off early doors for a really bad tackle, straight red, which put them down to 10 men. Into the break at 0-0. And then Bracknell, I think, scored 3 late goals. Certainly one goal sort of
Yeah,
late.
two. Yeah, one was the 90th, one was the 96th minute.
Yeah.
So all right at the end there. So these are the ones that are my picks, and obviously you guys can mention yours as well. Kings Lynn 6, Kettering 0. That's a bit of a battering there. Another big score line was Western Supermares 7, Helston Athletic 2. Western Supermare not just doing, delivering the goods in the league, but the FA Cup, they've been absolutely superb, banging in goals left, right, and centre.
Don't forget, Helston is step 5 though, so
yeah, of course you got to put into consideration. There's a league or two below, but difference there. But Weymouth, they might be struggling in the league under Bobby Wilkinson still, but they're doing well in the FA Cup. They beat Welland United 3-0. Romford got a bit of a battering at home, 5-0 against lost 5-0 at home to Chelmsford. Another big thrashing here. Hampton Richmond 6, Portland Rovers 1. A big shock here is Bath 0, Sevenoaks 1. There's 2 leagues separating those two sides. And finally, I've got Beckenham 5, Binfield 3. So I don't know if any of you guys want to mention those games or go for any other results from the FA Cup day.
I would like to mention a couple of ones from the north, actually. So I'll start with Clitheroe 1, Bury 1. Obviously, Bury are the Phoenix club of Bury FC. Obviously, victims of horrible ownership and financial problems, and obviously expelled from the Football League. And the Phoenix club did all right, so they drew 1-1 against Clitheroe, obviously a league above. Clitheroe are in the Northern Premier League West Division, while Bury are in the North West Counties League Premier Division. And it was a Max Kane 10th minute goal to open the scoring for them, and then we had it was 1-0 at half time, and then Bury obviously fought back, and they made it 1-1. Connor Kuba 50-minute goal obviously settled that, and so they're doing all right. I think the FA Cup run is probably helping them more, and obviously hopefully that will continue for them when they're going into the league. And the attendance there was absolutely extraordinary for an FA Cup tie. It was 1,750
Jeez, that's a lot.
fans that for all packed into the Shawbridge Stadium in Clitheroe. So yeah, that was very good results, and obviously take a replay at Radcliffe on Tuesday night, and hopefully, fingers crossed that Bury win. Because
just quickly, while on Bury, I was going to ask actually, because I've not been reading the articles, but I know there's a lot going on. They're getting Gig Lane back, aren't they?
Yeah.
And there's a merger happening. Does that mean they'll be called Bury FC again, or does that mean they're going to still be AFC Bury? What's the latest there?
Well, I think so. The stadium's actually owned by the Supporter Society of Bury FC, so they own Gig Lane, and the Phoenix Club. I think the Phoenix Club is owned by some fans that were Bury fans, and try to get the club back to where it was before. But I think I'm not too sure about the Gig Lane situation. I think it's not going to be this season when they go back to Gig Lane, but I think they're in talks with it, so hopefully they'll see them back at Gig Lane. But I know the women's team, they play at Gig Lane, so hopefully if Bury AFC go to if they get promoted next season, well, hopefully they obviously go in Gig Lane, and that would be incredible for the fans, and obviously the attendance would obviously go up massively if they were back in Gig Lane, because all the groundhoppers know that Bury FC was a very good ground, and they obviously want to see football back at their home that they obviously love and all that. But I think hopefully next season, hopefully if the talks go right and they get the support of the Supporter Society of Bury FC, and the chairman of Bury AFC, it might see football playing back at Gig Lane. Who knows? It's just see how it goes and all that. So yeah,
I'd certainly like to see Bury FC Bury, play at Gig Lane because they got a great following. But Paul, have you got any FA? You got some FA Cup results you want to touch
Yeah,
on?
it was just two I wanted to call out. So Gloucester City 0, Merthyr 1. Gloucester National League North, Merthyr Step 3. So late goal on. Saw the goal on Twitter and the supporters celebrations afterwards, which is brilliant to watch. Looked like Merthyr took a decent crowd there as well, which, to be honest, is not surprising because you get decent home support anyway, and obviously Gloucester's not that far away from them. I think the result that really stood out for me was Tootie Swindon Supermarine 1, Farnborough 5. I know there's a step in between them, but Swindon were playing at home, and I thought that game would be a lot closer than it was. Shout out to FA Cup Fact Foul on Twitter as well. Because of that result, Farnborough appear in their report for the third qualifying round. So they equal their best run to the fourth qualifying round with that result. First time in the fourth round for a while. That's 12 years for Farnborough. They avenged the previous FA Cup defeat. That was against Swindon Supermarine, which is interesting. One of the biggest wins in the third round, 5-1. That was really interesting. So just as well, actually, on that FA Cup Fact Foul, I know you're a big fan of him. 3 goals for Ruben Reid yesterday.
That's right.
Yeah.
Ruben Reid. I didn't realise he played. I didn't realise he was still playing. To be honest, I know he was meant to be signing for Portsmouth quite a few occasions, but it never happened. Now moving on from that, Luke, I don't know if you want to do your screen sharing and show some maybe 2 or 3 more.
I'd just like to do one more result if you don't mind. We've got obviously Ashington. They obviously beat Bradford Park Avenue, and they moved on to the FA third qualifying round. They drew against Stockbridge Park Steels of the Northern Premier League East Division 2-2. Obviously, they're doing very good in the FA Cup. Probably one of my favourites to go up from the 9th tier to the Northern Premier League East Division. So I heard the second half was incredible. Actually, there was 2 goals in the space of like 1 minute apart. So they took the league after 64 minutes, and it was a Ross Goodwin goal to obviously make Stockbridge Park Steels 1-0 up. And then we've got Ashington, quick response from Ashington, from Lee Mason, of course, former Dunstan and South Shields player. Then Ashington took the league again on the 72nd minute of Ben Harmston scoring to make it 2-1. And then a last-minute winner from Stockbridge Park Steels from Mitch Langdon in the 84th minute. And obviously takes it back to a replay at Ashington, so see how that goes. I'm obviously rooting for Ashington as well, and it's going to be interesting to see how Ashington do in the Ashington and get the hopefully get in the 4th round for haven't been in the 4th round before, and obviously they want to be in the 4th round before the big boys such as Wrexham and all that, and Notts County. Imagine getting them and all that. It's going to be insane for them financially as well. So we like a good. See what I love about the FA Cup is obviously you get these small teams and lower steps playing. Even your case, obviously Paul Bracknell. Have you ever made the 4th qualifying round before? I don't know what the I thought you binged.
Yeah, I think they lost to Barnet 3-0. I think it was 2003, something like that.
I was going to say because obviously for you, the big dream. Got some big dream ties possibly in there. National League teams. National League teams now into the 4th qualifying round, so you get Dorking, Woking, teams like that. And whether that's home or away, it's a big day, isn't it? No matter what. But yeah, whenever you're ready, Luke, we can go to some of the Northern Leagues, maybe the lower step ones. You run through a couple of those quickly.
Let me just screen share it so we can just.
No, that's fine.
So yeah, screen share. I've got steps again. Share screen. Bang bang. Okay. Is this all right?
Let's have a look. Yeah, I can see something here. Add to stream, and then I should be able to possibly make it the. There you go. That's it.
Let me just check
on
if
full
it's
screen.
on the screen right here. All right, it's on the screen right there. So, so a couple of fixtures were going on Saturday in the Northern Premier League East Division. We've got Carlton Town 1, Doncaster Albion 1. Obviously, my local side, Hebburn Town 2, Grantham Town 2. Obviously, Grantham came down from the Northern Premier League last season, and we've got Lincoln United 1, Stockton 2. Obviously, Stockton are on fire at the moment, if you can't see right over here. Then we've got Long Eaton United, obviously came up from the division below. I don't know what division that was. I don't know. I have it on top of my head, but I'm not too sure. They lost against Dunstan 3-1. They've got North Shields 0, Brighouse 0. They've got Ossett United 3, Grimsby Borough 1. Obviously, Grimsby Borough came up from last season. Then we've got Pontefract Collieries 3, Shieldon 0. Another one of our local sides near here. Then we've got Sheffield FC, the World's Football Club. They are 1-1 with Bridlington Town, and we've got a couple of results here of the league tables. We've got Stockton, obviously top of the league with 42 points. They're doing extraordinary, having a great start of the season. They're currently obviously on fire with they won all their games so far, so they're doing extraordinary, currently undefeated in the league. Then we've got Hebburn Town, who are second. Then we've got Cleethorpes, who are third. Brighouse fourth. Concert third. Concert came up from the Northern League Division 1 from last season. They're doing all right in the playoffs. Really impressed with them. They must be flying with it. Loving how their season's got off to. Obviously, these 4 teams making up the playoffs. They've got Pontefract Collieries, who are outside the playoffs, who are in 6th. They've got Worksop Town, who beat Gainsborough Trinity 1-0 in the FA Cup to make the 4th qualifying round. With Jack Green first half goal. And we've got Dunstan, who are 8th. Then we've got Ossett United, who are 9th. And then we've got Bridlington Town, who are 10th. Then we've got Sheffield FC, who was much better from last season. They were like 17th last season, and just managed to not get in the relegation playoffs. We've got North Shields, who are 12th. Then we've got Long Eaton United, one of the other teams who were promoted from last season. They've got Carlton Town, who were merged with the other leagues, and they were in another league in the same division, but they're merged with Then we've got Grantham, who obviously were relegated from last season from the Northern Premier League. They are not doing pretty well. They are currently 15th. Then we've got Stockbridge Park Steelers, who weren't in action today, who are in the FA Cup. We've got Doncaster Albion, who are 17th, obviously making that relegation hovering. And then we've got Shieldon, who are 18th. Obviously, I went to Shieldon versus Hebburn on Tuesday night, if you didn't know. And Shieldon were actually a very good side. They were giving a good battle to Hebburn and all that. So yeah. And we went one of the 2 local-ish sides from each other. So we've got Grimsby Borough, who are in 19th, and Lincoln United, who make up the rock bottom, currently sat with 6 losses and 2 draws, while Grimsby Borough are on 7 losses and 1 win. So I'm going to go through the West Division. So I'll just get the West Division up. Love talking here. We've got 1816 Northwich 2, and they've got Scammsdale United 1. Obviously, Scammsdale they went up via the playoffs, the Interstep playoffs, and from the Northwest Counties, they were finished second in their league. So yeah, then we've got City of Liverpool 3, Trafford 2. They've got Glossop North End 2. Ramsbottom United 1. They've got Kids Grove Athletic 1, Whitney Albion 1. They've got Macclesfield, probably the richest club in the 8th tier currently. They have a really big budget, and they have Bootle, who obviously beat them surprisingly. Then we've got Mossley, who are Mossley 4, Winners 1. And then we've got Prescott Cables 0, Newcastle Town 0. Almost said Newcastle United there.
I know. But I said they've dropped down a bit, and they've been the richest team in the world.
Is Luke, that Newcastle town, is that the Stoke-based Newcastle, is it?
Yeah, it is the Stoke-based Newcastle. So it's not. It's the ground is actually a really weird ground. It's like a motorcycle raceway beneath the pitch. So it's not like ours where it's like athletics tracks around the pitch. But instead of athletics track that's around the pitch, it's like a speedball, like for like the motorcycles. It's a weird ground.
Oh, Speedway. Do you mean Speedway?
Yeah, Speedway. That's the one.
Yeah. See, it's sort of reminiscent of because I was into banger racing, and it's Cowden Beef up in Scotland. They've actually got a racetrack on the outside.
Yeah, they have a racetrack around it. It's really far away from the pitch. It's like got barbed wire around like the pitch area. It's weird.
No, it's weird when you get. I mean, I don't personally like them because you can't get the atmosphere and that, and you can't get close to the action. But it's weird when you get grounds like that.
When you like in like one stand and not far away from the pitch like us, but you just get used to it. Really, it's just like us, because I've been in many gated games, and obviously it's away from the pitch. It's obviously the atmosphere might trouble it, but it's not really. The players have said that it doesn't really trouble them that much. It's basically like a 12th man at this point. So, and then we've got Runcorn Linnets 2, Colin 0. We've got Workington 1, Leek Town 1. Obviously, see how the tables are going up. So we've got Macclesfield, who are currently still top of the league. Obviously, Mossley closing the gap on Macclesfield. Obviously owned by Robbie Savage and Rob McElhaney. I think that's it. Rob I forgot his name there. I forgot his second name there. I know he's Rob, but
So Rob.
I obviously signed a lot of good players at Macclesfield. Yeah, just stick with Rob, just because I'm not too sure about who the. Sorry, say it again.
So call him Handsome Rob off. Was it the shoulder minis? Can't remember it now.
Yeah, just stick with Rob. That's how we go, right? So we've got Macclesfield, obviously Mossley winning 4-1, closing the gap on Macclesfield at the top by 2 points, and we've got Leek Town, Runcorn Linnets, and Northwich, who are making the playoffs. Then we've got Workington, who are 6th, and then we've got Gossip North End, who are 7th, then Bootle 8th, then Prescott Cables 9th, then Newcastle Town in 10th, then Kidsgrove, Hanley from the Midlands Division. They won the Midlands Division from last season. They're doing all right. They'll take that. Then we've got Trafford, who are 13th. Then we've got Clitheroe, obviously Clitheroe 14th. They were participating in the FA Cup on Saturday against Bury. Then we've got Skermisdale, who came up from the last season. They're doing all right. Then we've got Whitney Albion, very disappointing for Whitney Albion, because they are currently in 17th and linger in the relegation battle. Obviously, they came up from the Northern Premier League and they're not doing that well. So hopefully, it's still early doors, so hopefully we'll get to see them rise up a bit. Then we've got City of Liverpool 18th, and then we've got Ramsbottom, who are 19th. Then Winners, obviously they lost their manager after a long time, and they're not doing pretty well without him. So they've got currently 5 losses and all that. So yeah. And we've got the last Northern Premier League, so we've got the Midlands. Obviously, some games going on here. Then we've got Bedworth United 3, Corby Town 3. We've got Rothermere St Michael's 1, Durham Town 1. Obviously, Durham Town, they were in the, I think it was like I don't know. It was like so they obviously were like merging for the league. They were in the same league, but they were in a different league last season. So then we've got Cambridge City 1, Shepherd Dynamo 4, Greasley Rovers 4, Sutton Coldfield Town 2. Obviously, Sutton Coldfield Town, obviously they have great support there. They always give it a little
with the band. Yeah, I've seen the band.
Yeah,
I love all that
on Twitter and all that. So yeah, then we've got Harrowborough Town, who obviously came up from last season. They're doing all right. 1-0 win against Hickley. Then we've got Loughborough Dynamo 1, called Shell Town. Then we've got Spalding United 3, Halesowen Town 0. Obviously, Halesowen Town are one of the favourites to go up. So then we've got St Neots 2, Sporting Carlsler 4. Then we've got Stamford 4, Danbury Town 0. And see what that does to the Midlands Division. So we've got Halesowen Town, obviously winning one of the they came undefeated. I was just checking there, and then we've got Aylesbury who are in first. Obviously, they lost, so their undefeated streak, the unbeaten streak, came to an end at Spalding. Obviously, they won 3-0. Obviously, probably not a good display from them, but in that game, so yeah, they might not be happy. Then we've got making up the playoffs. We've got Loughborough Dynamo, Spalding, who are third, Corbury are fourth, St Baldermere Michaels in fifth, so that makes the playoffs. Then we've got Sporting Calza, who are currently in sixth. And then we've got Stamford. Then we've got Harrowborough, who went up from last season, who are in eighth. And then we've got Shepherd Dynamo, and then we've got Coleshill, and then we've got Sutton Coldfield, I've got Durham Town, and then we've got Creasley Rovers, and then we've got Bedworth United, and then we've got Chase Town. Obviously, Chase Town, they were in the playoffs from last season. They were in the final. They were finalists there, and obviously they're doing pretty well in 15th. Which is not taken from last season, of course. Then we've got Cambridge City are 16th, Danbury, who are lingering in the playoffs, in 17th. We've got Hickley, St Nerstown, and Yaxley. And that obviously concludes the Northern League and all the
Northern
leagues
sections. That's fantastic. So we're nearly at an hour now.
Sorry, just stand out for me. It's Baldermere St Michaels. I don't know if you remember, but I think they're the team that beat Chalfont in the Interstep playoff last season.
Oh yeah, I remember that actually. Yeah, no, I do remember. Yeah, I didn't recognise them at first, but now you mention it, yeah, I remember they beat Chalfont in the relegation playoffs.
I wasn't sure if Baldermere St Michael who came up from last season. I think they did. I think it was like the Interstep playoffs. I don't know.
Yeah, they did. Well, they played Chalfont. Chalfont got relegated, and Baldermere St Michael's got promoted. Chalfont not doing very well this season either. I think they're down 18 for combined counties out of 20 teams. So, unless they pick their form up, I mean, they could be looking back.
I was going to say, we went to Chalfont at the end of the last season. I quite like that ground. It's really weird, isn't it? Because you've got like seats. You got like a row of seats behind one of the goals, sort of just on the ground. It's a weird little. Did you go last season?
Yeah, I thought you were going to mention your Nippermates. Don't forget they got a creche in their clubhouse, right in the middle of the clubhouse.
Yeah, I know it's quite funny. But the funniest thing that I liked was there was I think we spotted because there's like loads of kids' toys around there. It was like some kids' drums and stuff like that.
That's what I'm saying. They've got a creche. Their clubhouse. They have a creche right in the middle of their clubhouse.
Yeah, no, it's quite a funny place that, and another team as well. We're talking about Isthmian South Central here. Chalfont. I mean, Staines. Obviously, they don't play anymore, do they? I think they got Staines and Lamanas or something. You say it? I don't know, but they
Staines Lamas.
Staines, that's it. Yeah, I don't know how they're doing in their league, but I presume most of the Staines fans have gone there now. I'm not too sure, but yeah, I'm quite. I mean, going on to Staines now. I mean, I was quite surprised that how it all happened all sudden. They were doing poor in the South Central last season, but then it all went wrong from behind the scenes, didn't it? So
yeah, just having a look. I thought they must have been step 16 Lamas, but I can't see them in the combined counties. So and they're not at step 5 in the combined counties, so I'm not sure what division they're in there.
Yeah, well, before we go offline, anything else you want to mention before we come off?
I forgot one thing about the news, but I obviously see it. Kevin Wilkin from Brackley Town, he has left after 7 years at the club. Obviously, Kevin Wilkin won the FA Vase with Brackley in the 2018 season. Not the FA Vase, FA Trophy with Brackley back in the season. They beat Bromley on penalties, and obviously, Brackley, of course, they're not doing really well. They did very well last season. They made it to second, obviously challenging with my team Gateshead for the title last season, and they were doing all right there in season, but it suddenly went downhill from there. Ever since it was like the Blythe games, something like this clicked with their Brackley players' mind, and it obviously went downhill from there. So it is a big loss for Brackley, of course. After 7 years with the club, it obviously grows a connection with the manager after a while. So, but I think the new manager will do all right. I think he will if they get a good manager right and do well next season, they'll possibly might obviously build the momentum up. Obviously not doing pretty well in National League North. They currently sit like mid-table or something. So hopefully they do well and obviously push for the playoffs again and try get up. Hopefully for the first time. It's quite a bit of talking there.
Yeah, quite a bit. Yeah, but yeah, it's all good. I think we've touched on nearly an hour now, so it's quite good. So thank you both for joining me. Obviously, we'll be back possibly in 2 weeks, maybe, because we've got the FA Cup fourth qualifying round. There's going to be a lot of big draws in that one, which I think draws probably going to be Monday, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we're going to see a lot of
Monday at 3:15, I believe.
It's going to be on Talk Sport too.
Yeah.
So we're going to wait and see on that one. But yeah, thank you for joining us today, and we'll be back hopefully in a couple of weeks.
Thank you very much.